You ask any Muslim, why do you believe in all these rituals, all these laws and beliefs that don't appear in the Qur'an? You ask them, if you confront them and you ask them, why did you make this your religion? It doesn't appear in the book of Allah. They tell you, are you mad? This is what my Shaik taught me at madrasa. This is what I heard in the mosque on Friday. This can't be wrong. Everyone in the mosque listened and they all accepted it. And then you ask them, so what is the proof that you believe in Abu Huraira? He's not in the Qur'an. He's not delegated. He's not as-Sadiq. He's not al-Amin. Why do you make his word tantamount to the word of Allah? Because that is really what is happening. The words of Abu Huraira is treated on a similar level with the words of the Qur'an as unquestionable truth. And they will tell you, no, but Abu Huraira was a great man. The Prophet touched him, or put spit on his whatever eyes, and told him, you will never forget anything again. And they will come up with a fable that Abu Huraira told. You see, so to believe Abu Huraira's long 5,000 hadiths, it begins by believing Abu Huraira's first story that he made up about the Prophet gave me some magical powers to remember 5,000 hadiths, which is a book this thick. You know, if you put 5,000 hadiths together, you'll get a very, very big book. So Abu Huraira was hafiz of 5,000 hadiths of the Prophet in 2 years. Wow. And they believe that. You ask the Muslims, they believe it. They sincerely believe it. But I've got terrible news for you. If you want to join that crowd, I've got the worst news that you can imagine. Because the moment of death is the moment of truth also for all of us. The moment we breathe our last is the moment truth appears in front of us. And then we suffer the worst type of cognitive dissonance, because that cognitive dissonance that we then experience is the pain of remorse. It's the pain of regret. That is what we suffer at the moment of death. And so I beseech you to go to the only source of divine truth, of the divine word, not the sources that were invented after that. You see, there's only one Nabi in relation to the Holy Qur'an, and that is the Nabi Muhammad alayhi salam. There are no other prophets. When you say that there was wahi, because that is what this, if you ask these scholars, they will tell you that nas or wahi consists of two, the Qur'an and the hadith. So they treat the hadith as nas. And if the hadith is sahih, it is equivalent to the word of Allah. How can a word of a fallible and possibly criminal person, a person that has never been recognized, be tantamount to the word of a prophet, of Muhammad? And stop telling me that nonsense that the same people that reproduced the Quran reproduced the hadith. That's a complete lie. And you say it because you have memorized it, but it's not true. The Quran is the product of scribes. Suhufan mutahara. It is pages that have been purely and faithfully reproduced by the hands of scribes. It is been carefully reproduced by reliable scribes. In the words of the Quran, bi-aydi safara, written by the hands of scribes, 80:15, kiramin bararan, honorable and pious and just. Honorable, pious and just. Those are the hands that reproduced and that wrote and recorded the words of the Quran. Not dishonorable, unjust and impious people that have been accused of numerous crimes and greed and theft. So stop lying to yourself by saying that the Qur'an, the same people that reproduced or transmitted the Qur'an are the same people that transmitted the hadith. Yes, those same people also transmitted false hadith. So are you going to say the Qur'an is tantamount to false hadith? Because we know there are false hadith also transmitted. There are also Jewish or Israeliyat transmitted by that first generation of Muslims. So are you going to say the Qur'an is tantamount to the Israeliyat, to the Talmudic material that was transmitted? No, the Qur'an is a unique book. It is the one book that was recorded. It was written. The book itself calls for the recording, for the scribing of important agreements with a future bearing. And so stop lying to yourself. But in closing, I want to show you the verse that will clarify and should wake you up if you still want to cling and if you're still embarrassed to accept Allah's truth. Look at this verse. Now listen very, very carefully to your Lord speaking to you. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنِ افْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا أَوْ قَالَ أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ وَلَمْ يُوحَ إِلَيْهِ شَيْءٌ وَمَنْ قَالَ سَأُنْزِلُ مِثْلَ مَا أَنْزَلَ اللَّهُ وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذَا إِلَى الظَّالِمُونَ فِي غَمَرَاتِ الْمَوْتِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ بَاسِطُوا أَيْدِيهِمْ أَخْرِجُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Who can be more wicked than one who invents a lie against Allah or says, I have received inspiration, when he has received none, or against who says, I can reveal the like of what Allah has revealed? If you could but see how the wicked do fare in the flood of confusion at death. The angels stretch forth their hand, saying, Yield up your souls. This day shall you receive your reward, a penalty of shame, for that you used to tell lies against Allah and scornfully rejected His ayat. Now, what are the ayat of Allah? What are the ayat of Allah? The ayat of Allah are not hadiths. What are the false narrations, the false revelations? It is the thousands and thousands of false stories that you believe. The false stories from Abu Huraira. The false stories from Muawiyah and his government, who tried to besmear and marginalize and defame the real leaders, Imam Ali, Imam Hussein, Imam Hassan. These liars who invented stories. And here you're running around today saying the word of Muawiyah is the same as the word of Allah. The word of Abu Huraira is the same as the word of Allah. You are condemned by this ayat, my dear friend.